Good afternoon. Welcome to Trading the Close on this Thursday. I'm Toni Valliere with Verified Investing. And here's what's making headlines today. Jobless claims jump to 231,000, the highest since August. That's up 22,000 from the week before. Roblox stock tumbles after revenue is well below expectations and a downbeat current quarter outlook. Planet Fitness's stock rallies after the company reports its first price hike in 30 years, going from $10 to $15 for a basic membership. Sinclair is looking to sell more than 30% of its 185 broadcast stations. Mortgage rates drop for the first time in 5 weeks, dipping back toward 7% for the average 30-year fixed rate. Marathon Digital, Unity Software, and Dropbox will all be reporting earnings after the closing bell today. The Dow jumps 300 points, looking to make it a 7-day winning streak. So let's get a check of where things stand just minutes before the closing bell. Seeing a lot more green today across the board, at least right now. The Dow up more than 300 points, 0.84%. We've got the Nasdaq up 40 points, 0.25%. The S&P 500 up 26 points, 0.52%. We've got oil up 42 cents, gold up over $34, Bitcoin up over $1,270 at this time. So let's bring in Chief Market Strategist Gareth Soloway with a recap of the day's trading. Wow.
Yeah,
all
right
green today. Everything's just great and dandy, right?
There's no problem.
No
There's nothing
issues
to see here, folks. Nothing to see, right? So, I mean, and that's really amazing. Historically, though, interestingly enough, once you see these cracks emerge where the data is starting to become weaker, we saw the jobless claims today jumping. It does take the buyers, the retail crowd still buys and buys and buys, and sometimes there's a lag effect. So it can be like a week, 2 weeks, or even a month or so before people start to say, wait a minute, maybe all of this isn't good. And we've seen so many, I mean, again, Roblox today, that's a classic kids consumer. You know, they're buying whatever they're buying there from Roblox. And again, it's just another sign of what is going on. But I think also the market is continuing to just believe that who cares? In fact, the worse data, the better in a way, because the Fed will then be forced to just print unlimited amounts of money. And I think there's also that air to it as well, which, yeah, in the short term, printing money is nice. It makes you feel good. It makes things go up. But there's obviously a point where you have to pay for it. You know?
Oh, for sure. Exactly. It's like how some people are raising their kids and just hand them everything, right? Life is easy. You just, you don't have to earn it.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I saw you say heard you say on the game plan this morning that you just feel like each earnings report that's coming out lately is just really...
It's tough right now. I mean, there's a few good ones, but again, even Robinhood today, good example. That stock it had a good report. It opened higher and then sold off and went negative and just got crushed. And so, again, there's a few little bright spots, but most of the earnings, at least from the big names, are getting hit, except, if you're looking at Apple. Apple obviously did well, but it was so beaten down that it was kind of like a relief, like, okay, and plus they just did this massive buyback, which is total financial engineering. And, Google announced a massive buyback, so they're just like, hey, listen, we can't grow the old-fashioned way of selling more stuff, so let's buy back our stock, and then we can artificially have our earnings go up, which is what ends up happening.
Got to look at those details.
Yeah, exactly.
So the S&P up right now.
S&P is up, absolutely. We're right around the highs of the day. This is the 10-minute chart. And again, going to yesterday, we kind of were down here. We opened the day flattish. We sold off just a tiny bit, and then it's just been a kind of a slow grind higher all day. Volume is unbelievably light in this market, which again, what does that tell us? It tells us that institutions are not heavily buying here. All right, so that is, to me, that's always a warning sign. When you see upside and just a float, it tells you retail's lifting the market, but that doesn't tell you what the big players are doing. And if the big players aren't buying, it should also tell us something as well. So just something to keep note on that. A couple other things that I think are worth noting today. We did see on the jobless claims this morning, we did see yields come down, which is, again, that the hope that the Fed will print more money, so yields are coming down. And we can see we're getting close to this, again, retesting. We kind of kissed it the other day. We bounced up, which is what you're supposed to do. But one of the classic things that I teach is that it's all about how many times you hit the line. The more times you hit the line, the more likely you break down. Upsloping trend lines generally break to the downside. And if we do a count here, again, 1, 2, 3, 4 hits, and so if we go like this, I actually do think yields are coming in. The question is, is that going to push the markets to all-time highs or not? It might in the near term, but I do worry that it's, again, this is not a good thing when you see yields coming down, because it's telling you that the economy is weakening. At some point, if the consumer is really pulling back, earnings are going to start coming down. And then the multiple on these stocks is just, it's insane. It's even high right now. You throw in a recession and stocks will at some point have to come in.
For sure.
Yeah.
What did you guys trade today? Did you do any trades with Roblox?
Yeah, so we were I was in a Roblox trade even pre-market. It was wild. I ended up breaking even because I got in a little too early. That drop was insane. So it's a good example. In fact, we can go to that pre-market data.
I did see that this morning.
So there's this trend line down here, right? It's all the way down at like 27 bucks here, and we closed the day yesterday at like 39. So in my head, I'm like, I doubt it gets down there. But if we flip over to the 10-minute chart and we show the pre-market data, you can see there's that same line, and this was an enormous flush. So I started accumulating kind of around like the 30 area, then I added a little down here, and we finally got a bounce back, and I ended up basically breaking even. But to be honest, this was a much bigger flush than even I anticipated.
Really?
This was pretty wild stuff. And again, it did bounce back, which is good. You get these technical bounces. But yeah, it made me sweat a little this morning.
Not a whole lot.
Yeah, really, for sure. It's still down massively on the day. And then just to go over things again, Airbnb, which is one we talked about yesterday, had that trade out. And again, just another example. Really didn't do a lot. This was my level that I talked about maybe being support. It didn't even, to be honest, it didn't do a whole lot there. ARM Holdings bounced back, was down almost 10%. It's barely down on the day. I think it's down right now 2.37%. But what this did do is it did make us see the semiconductors fall. And so even though the stock market's up today, if we look at NVIDIA here,
yes.
NVIDIA was down about almost 2% on the day. It was the only trillion-dollar stock down on the day today. The rest of them were up. But again, we do have this pattern, and if this line breaks, this would be that next big flush in NVIDIA. If it doesn't break, then it can continue here, maybe even go higher. But this line here would be one, especially if we're trading into earnings. I think earnings are the 22nd of May.
Okay,
so it's a week from next Wednesday, I believe.
Not next week, but the week after.
But that will be just an unbelievably exciting earnings announcement, because expectations are like way up here, but they've been performing like that. So again, the question is, can they make sure?
But the bar is set high.
It is high. It is any sort of margin contraction or any sort of little tiny thing will cause a sell-off. So they really have to knock it out of the park, like way above expectations to maintain.
If there's a sell-off, do you expect them to bounce back pretty quickly or not necessarily?
It just depends it really depends on what we see in terms of the numbers, right? Are we seeing that the semiconductor side is slowing a little bit? Are margins contracting because of all these other new chips coming into the market? I mean, ARM Holdings has them. There's so many players out there, AMD and so on and so forth, and more are coming in. And so that's my big thing, is like, I don't know what it's going to do on earnings. That's going to be a tough one to know. But I do know over the next 2 years, so many competitors will come in with their AI chips that it's going to cause margins to contract at some point. I mean, they're not going to be able to charge the crazy amounts of money for their chips that they're charging right now.
And you see that stock coming down
over time. Just over
time.
It's and it's nothing against NVIDIA. NVIDIA's a great company. It's just that that's the way things work. When you have an amazing product and it makes a lot of money, there's a zillion other companies that are like, oh, look at that, let's do that too. And it draws in more competitors, and then it ultimately pushes margins to the downside. So listen, if they can come out with something brand new and just continue to lead the pack, that would help. But it's still, I mean, there's always going to be a price where, I could have the best from NVIDIA, but I got to pay $50,000 for it, or I could have a really good quality one for 10. Okay, like some people will say, okay, the 10, because I just don't want to pay that crazy amount, especially if we go into a recession.
Exactly. So, Duolingo is another one. Did you guys trade that one today?
Didn't trade it, but I did give someone did say that in the game plan, and this is the line from the game plan, and you can see the low of the day right to that line right there.
Wow.
So there was someone that said that they caught that off that line. I did not myself, but yeah, that was an interesting jump there. One of the things to just note is the chart had generally been trending higher, and so again, that does make it, if you look at just this move alone, it was vulnerable. I mean, again, to a fall, because it was just up so much just in the last couple weeks. So those are always warning signs. I don't like to see stocks that are just surging into earnings, because the bar, every time the stock goes up, the bar gets higher and higher and higher and higher, and it just makes it harder for them to go up even on earnings, right?
But does it make it obvious that it's going to have a pullback, or?
No,
Not
it doesn't make it.
necessarily.
So it just increases the probabilities. But yeah, unfortunately, and I've been burned too many times to think it's obvious. It's just like, it's a matter of what do you risk? And this is how you mitigate risk, right? Is you say, okay, well, normally I do this much in this trade like this, but because there's more risk, I lower that amount of shares that I'm doing. And you just can mitigate it in those ways, or you can just stay on the side. The safest thing is just to stay on the sidelines and wait until the aftermath. And then you can get these trades here, which are a little lower risk, because now the stock's even lower by a significant from 250 down to 200 Pierce. And you're getting basically a 20% discount. So even if it goes a little lower, at least you're getting in here versus up here.
Yeah, Airbnb, I know you went light on that one. You played it safe, and you did well with that one. That was a market mover today.
Yeah,
AMC.
we saw, and just to touch on silver, amazing move today on silver. Silver broke above a key level here. So it's still not fully bullish yet because you still have this huge topping tail here, but really a very impressive move today on silver, and even gold had a decent move up as well. So some good performers there. Let's take a look at just the after hours. Here's Dropbox. So Dropbox surging on earnings. That's a nice little move, almost 10% in the after hours. So again, we can see it close around 23. It's trading at around 24.40. So I guess that's not quite 10%, but still a decent move on Dropbox. And
Marathon Digital's another one.
So it looks like it down. Looks like yeah. You can see it looks like it downticked. Now it's upticking a little on earnings. Doesn't look like a huge move just yet, but nonetheless a little bit of an uptick there. So I know you had the gentleman on from Marathon Digital that you talked to. Yeah. So that's good to see. At least it's not dumping.
No,
At least not yet.
no. This is a gradual.
And this is good. What's interesting about this is, remember, this is earnings just right around the halving on Bitcoin. So this is important, the fact that they're not coming out in their report and saying, oh my goodness, we're screwed now. They're obviously, it's not a big move, but at least they're stable, and that's good. And it is starting to move up a little bit more now. It's almost up about $1 in the after hours, so that's good to see there.
Well, when you know years in advance, you have plenty of time to prepare for that kind of move as well. So
this is Akamai, a pretty big company here, dumping out on earnings. Looks like it's down about 8-9% since the close. So that's an interesting. This is actually when I put an order out to enter in the after hours, but I put my orders really, really low. Like basically only if it's the craziest dump will I get filled, and I'll just show you on the daily chart where I put this.
It's kind of what we're looking at, right? I mean, that looks like
this is not.
Pretty
this
good.
is a big dump, but it's not as big as so what I do is, especially after Roblox. Roblox was down 30% by pre-market.
Yeah, that's
huge move. I thought 20%. That's kind of where I was gaming for it. But one of the things I did here. So you have a gap fill right here, which is kind of right where it went at this point. But it's only at that point it's only down about 10%. I'm not going to risk getting in at 10% if it goes down 20%, and then you lose a ton of money. So the way I play these earnings, if I want to take a shot at it, I really think about, okay, what's the max? If the craziest horrible report comes out, where would I, on the chart, where would that potentially be the low? And so what I did was I found this level down here, which is right around $79, and that's where I put my order. So it didn't get even close to it, and I'm okay with that, because I'd much rather be safe than sorry and lose a ton of money. So we'll check in again just in case, but I doubt it's down. Down to 90, got down to 91, but still, it's still over $12, $13 away from my target. So at this point, usually the initial move would be the panic sell-off. It's kind of probably won't get down there at this point, which is just fine.
Okay, Dropbox is another one.
Yep,
I think you have that up there.
Yeah, that was a nice little bounce here. It's coming in a little bit, but not too shabby. And we could check in with Marathon again. Marathon's coming back in. But either way, again, if you're someone who likes the miners like Marathon, all you care about getting past the halving is that it's not dumping out. Their guidance, at least at this point, isn't, speaking, now it's inching down. But still, it's still not a huge move overall. And then we should just touch base.
No, and it's not done yet.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. After hours,
not
you just
over.
don't know. Bitcoin had a nice move today, but remember, gold was up today. The stock market was up today. Everything's rosy. That's good for risk assets, and so we are seeing a move up on
Still a sideways
on
chop, though. Not
That's
a whole
what
lot of movement here.
Yeah, you just continue to have this kind of general thing. We'll see if it goes up here or does it come back here. But either way, it's still stuck in this range. Now, again, this pattern is actually on the daily chart bullish, right? So you had the bigger move up here, and then this is sideways inside bar consolidation. So again, in general, this is a bullish pattern. Again, you would favor this to go to the upside. The only caveat, again, would be if the stock market really dumps out. I think then it would probably go below here, but otherwise, it's not a bad, to be honest. A lot of people get upset, like, oh, why isn't it going up to 100K? Give it time, relax. It's making actually a very healthy consolidation pattern.
Okay. All right, anything else that we should be covering today that I did want to ask you how trading has gone this week. I see the board, and what I see has been pretty positive.
It has. It's been a very
good week.
It's been a good week, and honestly, like, earnings season is always a great time to be a day trader, right?
Okay.
Because you get these crazy moves like on Roblox, and you can get hurt too, but it gives you opportunity. And like, so the market, once we get past earnings season, then I start turning my attention to, okay, well, what's going to cause the volatility? Next week, I think we have some big economic data coming, so that'll be what I focus on now that we're kind of getting through earnings season, and that'll be what I hope gives us volatility. I don't care as a trader if it's up or down. Just give me these volatile moves up and down, choppiness, where I can trade the action.
And read the signs of the charts. And if you're curious what specific things he's looking for, we've got all the articles, all that information. It's literally a one-stop shop. It's verifiedinvesting.com. So make sure you check it out. New articles daily as well.
Heck yeah, there's always something to talk about. And I always focus on the stuff that you're not hearing in the mainstream media. You know, the stuff that's kind of under the radar, like the dollar-yen situation and how that could unravel, just so people are aware, right? I mean, do what you will with the information. You can toss it away, or you can say, wow, that's good, I didn't know that before. But that's really the goal of verified investing.
Exactly, and there's courses as well.
That's right.
Several courses and constantly new ones. All right, Gareth, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Remember, you can catch Gareth navigate the charts in real time every weekday morning. It's absolutely free. It happens before the opening bell, starting at 9 a.m. on his show, The Game Plan, and it airs right here on the Verified YouTube channel. That does it for us for Trading the Close this week. We will be back on Monday, so make it a great rest of the week.